Hey guys, coming me another movie review for guys, and this movie we're reviewing, I was definitely looking forward to this movie for a very long time now. I have heard, the trailers in general made this movie look like a lot of fun, and I was really hoping this movie would be fun. And I started to hear not the greatest reviews about it, but I still want to check it out just for myself to see how this movie was, and that movie is Legend. Yes, I was really looking forward to this. I mean, the trailers really made it seem like it was going to be a lot of fun, and especially with Tom Hardy, I was definitely interested in seeing how this movie would be, and I started to hear it wasn't the greatest, but like I said, I still wanted to check it out just to see how it was, and overall, how was Legend? Legend is quite disappointing. I really wanted to like this movie, but there are a lot of things I really do like about this movie. Honestly, there are a lot of things. But unfortunately, the movie is nothing memorable, and it's just okay. It's an okay film. It's nothing amazing, and it's a real disappointment because the movie had a lot of potential, but there are a lot of things that hurt this movie, and we'll get into that. Now, let's get to the plot of Legend, which the plot is really there's not much to say about the plot of this movie. We focus on the Cray brothers. You have Ronnie Cray and Reggie Cray. Now Reggie Cray is part of this, criminal underground, basically. And at the start of the film, his twin brother, Ronald, is basically locked up in this prison. He's very violent and erratic, and Reggie wants to get him out of there. And eventually, these two start to form crimes together, and it's kind of like their business that they form over the years, while also focusing on Reggie's relationship with his wife, Frances. That basically is the plot of Legend. But it's really not, and I'll tell you guys why. There's a lot of things in this movie that I was very disappointed by. Now, the thing that this movie really does have going for it is the acting. The main three actors here, and just everyone in general, I think all really do give very good performances, but the thing I was most impressed by was Tom Hardy. Because as you guys know, this is a dual role for Tom Hardy. He's playing both Ronnie Cray and Reggie Cray, which was a very smart idea. To do that, it definitely shows, though, that, one, I think he was very committed to, and the other, I don't really think he knew what to do with. Now, this was a smart idea. I'm not blaming Tom Hardy for this. I think he did a good job. It's just what they did with these characters overall, I really was not a fan of. The character of Ronnie Cray, I thought was very well done. He was very suave. He definitely had that gangster feel to him. Like, he definitely did a very good job. And a lot of people have said Tom Hardy should play could have played a really good James Bond. I definitely see it in this performance, how suave he is here. I definitely see that for Tom Hardy as James Bond, definitely with Ronnie. The problem with the movie is the character of Reggie Cray, who basically, his character isn't the problem, it's the way he's handled in the film. If you guys saw the trailers, they don't really portray this as a dangerous movie. They portray it more as a comedy, and it really doesn't work with Reggie Cray because there's so many scenes where he's supposed to be very violent and doing something very erratic, but he's so over the top that it is very hard to take it seriously, and there were so many points where I didn't know whether to laugh or whether to be disturbed by what Reggie was doing, and it was very hard for me to, it really ruined a lot of the film for me, and especially in a twist when we find out that Reggie's a homosexual, it really does ruin a lot of the movie. Suddenly Reggie has to do all these awkward things that we learn he's a homosexual. It just really made things way too convoluted. My other big problem in this movie is that these two brothers, they don't have a lot of scenes together, surprising. I mean, they have scenes together, but we don't really get to see them working here. We don't really get to see the bond they have. It's much more explained to us than it is actually seen, and I was quite disappointed by that. I really felt that Tom Hardy, while he did a good job, definitely gave more as Ronnie than he did as Reggie. And when he's Reggie, by the way, I cannot stand a fucking word most of them are saying. I mean, a lot of the dialogue is very muffled, it's very muffled like that. Now, I can understand what they were saying, but there were many times where I just felt maybe tone the accent down a bit and I could have understood it a bit more. And I'm not saying that's the biggest problem in the movie, it's just the way that Reggie was portrayed really ruined a lot of this movie for me. The other big problem in this movie is Emily Browning as Frances, who is very good, let me just say. I think she does do a very good job in the movie as a character of Frances. She is Ronnie's love interest, The problem is, she's narrating the movie, and I have no idea why. The movie's not about her and Ronnie's relationship. It's supposed to be about the crimes with Ronnie and Reggie. So why the hell is she narrating the film? I don't understand it, and it really was very bizarre, I have to say. Her character is interesting to a degree. I mean, the second she gets involved with Ronnie, she doesn't like what he's doing. She wants to get him out of the gangster business. It did feel very cliche in that way, but I did care about the relationship overall. I think these two had good chemistry. I will definitely say that. It's just, I don't know why they would choose her to narrate the film when she's not even a huge part of it. Yes, the relationship is a big part of it, but there's a lot more going on than just the relationship, and I definitely did not like the way that was handled, and I thought that was definitely one of the things that was very ruined in this movie. I think Emily Browning could have been a lot more, but she didn't need to really, they didn't really need to give her as much as they gave her in this movie. I don't understand why she, was narrating the film. I don't even know why this movie needed a narrator. This movie was pretty straightforward. I don't think we needed a narrator in this movie. I don't need this movie explained to me. I know what's going on. Christopher Eccleston, great actor, good in this movie, but very, very underused as a character of Nipper Reed. He simply is just a police detective going after the Cray brothers, and he isn't really an essential part of the film until like the third act of this movie, and I'm like, that's really what you do? You have a great actor like Christopher Eccleston, and that's what you do with him? I was very upset with that. Taron Egerton barely has anything new in this movie. I can't even remember what his character did, honestly. His character did nothing interesting, and I was very disappointed because Taron Egerton is one of the breakout performances of the year in Kingsman. I was really hoping this kid would have a bright future, and if this is what he's gonna do, I am very, very upset because Taron Egerton deserves a lot better than what he got in this movie. He is very underused, and that really goes to a lot of the characters. A lot of his characters in this movie are very underused, and I was quite upset with that. They were basically very basic, and I just wanted more of them, and I really didn't get that feel here. So overall, the acting, while good, just really wasn't as good as it could have been. The directing is mainly the biggest problem of this movie by Brian Helgeland. I don't think he understood what he wanted to do with this movie. I think he had ideas pitched, but they just didn't all really go together. And many times, this does feel like two different tones. I mean, both of these brothers, I understand they're different, I do, but the movie should feel cohesive. It should feel like one movie, and it doesn't. It feels like two movies. There are times where the movie is taking itself way too seriously, but that's because at times it's a lot of fun, and it feels weird though when it's a lot of fun. Like, I shouldn't be having fun in the things that they're doing. The things that they did were brutal, and they're portraying it as fun, like Kingsman, and I really felt this movie didn't work in that way. It should not have been portrayed as something fun. This was something that actually happened. The thing with Kingsman is that that's based off a comic book, and it didn't actually happen, and it's all done in fun. That's the thing with Kingsman. With Legend, this is an event that actually happened, not really something you should portray as fun, and I don't really know why they decided to portray it in that way. And I get it that, I understand that, the character of Reggie, is a very, the character of Ronnie is a very, sick, man, and has a lot that's going on. He's very violent, things like that. It just didn't really work for me, and I really didn't get that feel that they did anything that major. I mean, they did some major things, but I'm not going to remember any of it. There's really no scenes that stuck with me, and I wanted to see a lot more, definitely, because I really didn't feel like I got a lot, I really got a sense of what these brothers were doing and how brutal and dangerous they were. I didn't really get that in this movie. I just saw them as two brothers who were gangsters, and it really didn't work in terms of directing. My other problem with this movie is the screenplay. Holy shit, this screenplay drags. I mean, it drags. It really does. Let me say this, the first half of this movie is pretty solid. I thought the first, 30 minutes were pretty solid, I have to say. It's just as the movie went on, we get more and more just exposition of them being like, the brothers are dangerous, they're very erratic, they're very different. I don't need it explained to me. I don't need reassurance that these brothers are dangerous. I can clearly tell that they're dangerous. I can clearly tell that they have a big plan. I can clearly tell that they're going to be a big detriment to society. I can totally understand that. You can look at the Cray brothers. I know that. A lot of people know the story of the Cray brothers. Hell, there have been 3 movies made about them. I believe this is like the 3rd movie about them. But The problem is we don't need that reassurance. I would much rather have seen it rather than hear about it. A lot of this we hear about. A lot of the crime that's formed this movie, we just hear about. We hear, oh, they did this, then they did this. That's really why I felt like the narration was very out of place in this film. It felt kind of like a documentary at times. It really did. Like the narration that we had with Emily Browning. I get that she's supposed to be someone important in their life, but why specifically Frances? She wasn't a huge part of this film. She was in the first two has been the third half. This movie was supposed to be anchored on these two leads, and I really didn't see it that way. And I get that it's supposed to be played by one person, but it just didn't work in the way that it should have, and I was definitely very disappointed by that. The score here is very good. Let me say one of the best things about this movie by far is the tone. You really do feel like you're in the 60s. You feel like you're in that time period. They did a good job of playing 60s music, and I like the music as well. It felt very film noir-esque, and I definitely really love that. And that's something they did very well. The cinematography was also really great here. I thought the cinematography looked really great at times. Very, very good. The world overall was very dangerous. You can tell that this is a very brutal world. It's just we don't really get to see a lot of it, and it's not very memorable. The crimes they perform are no different than something I'd see in like a Martin Scorsese movie. And that's one of my other big things this movie. I really felt this movie could have been a lot better if it had not copied off of other films. A lot of times it felt like it was trying to be like Goodfellas, and it really didn't work. Goodfellas is its own thing. Goodfellas works because it's about someone's passion for wanting to be a gangster. That's really why that movie works as well as it does, and us seeing the entire story. And this, I really didn't feel like we got that entire story. I really didn't feel like this was a very satisfying movie, really at all, honestly. There were times where I would zone out and not really care what's going on in the story because they didn't make this really seem like a big deal. The movie overall, it didn't feel big. It felt very watered down, and it just kind of felt like they rushed this out. The editing especially, while the movie is very slow paced, it felt very rushed towards the end, definitely. It felt like they just need to get this out and get these scenes going, and I definitely was very disappointed by that because I wanted more to this film, and I really didn't feel like we got that. We got the basic character types of Ronnie and Reggie, which I heard they didn't even get right. Like, Ronnie in real life, I heard, was not gay. I heard he was actually bisexual, and I think that could have been a lot more interesting if they did that, rather than him making all these weird sexual innuendos with men, which is very, very strange, as you can imagine. It just doesn't really work in this movie. And that's one of the things that really disappointed me with this movie. I definitely did not like that as much as I wanted to. The ending especially, I thought was very, very abrupt, and I'm just like, that's how you end this movie? That's not how you end this movie. This movie needs to end a much better way. But it didn't, and the movie overall was just very mediocre. So overall, guys, I was very disappointed with Legend. I really wanted to like this movie. I really want to recommend it to you guys, but I really can't. Honestly, this is Tom Hardy's worst film. It really is. I mean, I haven't seen Tom Hardy give a bad performance, and it's not that he gave a bad performance in this movie, it's just, out of all the films I've seen, this is by far my least favorite Tom Hardy film, and I'm really disappointed because I was really hoping this would be a very good film for him, but hey, you can't win them all, and I'm definitely going to give Legend a 3 to 5 or a C+, mainly for the acting. The acting is very good in this film. It's just, it's a very watered-down film, and it's very unmemorable, and I'll probably forget that I watched this, and honestly, probably tomorrow, honestly. I'm going to forget this movie very quickly. But remember, guys, let me know what you guys saw this movie. You have seen it. Don't watch this movie. You haven't. Honestly, I'm not going to recommend it. I honestly would not recommend it. I don't think it's a good gangster film. I don't think it's a good biopic. I think some scenes are worth it, but other than that, it's a very over-the-top film. It's a very confusing film in terms of direction and story and really what they wanted to focus on, and in the end, it just kind of was a mess. It really was. I mean, Legend overall, it just kind of is a mess, and definitely, the Cray brothers, I don't think are legends. I really didn't see them that way. But overall, guys, let me know what you guys saw of Legend if you have seen it. I'm definitely looking forward to the next movie review because I've heard amazing things about the next movie, and you guys will definitely want to hear my thoughts on that one. It's getting a lot of Oscar potential. I'm just going to tell you guys out right now, but the movie I'm reviewing is getting a lot of Oscar potential, and I will see you guys next week, which will be for another movie review, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.